Welcome to Global One Media Stocks to Watch. I'm Michael Suido. I'm speaking today with Frank Basa. He's the CEO of Coniagas Battery Metals. Frank, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you very much, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here.
Where are we finding you today? Where are you?
Well, right now, I'm actually not moving for once, and I'm actually up in Northern Ontario where I actually live, and it's actually close to our mine. So we're kind of up north of Toronto, about 500 kilometers.
Excellent. Well, we spoke not too long ago, and at the time, you were wearing your hat as head of another company, Nord Precious Metals. They recently discovered a high-grade silver deposit in Northern Ontario. Not too long ago, a couple of months ago in March, Nord Precious spun off one of its units, Coniagas. So I'm curious, why spin it off? Why not run that project as part of Nord Precious Metals?
Well, we feel in this market it's changing. So I think originally we have all kinds of materials in the company. It was called Canada Silver Cobalt. And a lot of our investors, which are basically European-based, Frank, and I agree with them. I think the precious metal market will be something we haven't seen. I think it's going to go pretty crazy. And we have this wonderful silver deposit, which is probably the highest grade silver that anybody's ever seen in the world. But it's the norm for the cobalt camp. And so we decided, what we'll do? We'll spin out the battery metals in another vehicle, as it's getting no value in the company. So we created Coniagas, and we've done these things before, whereby then we give a dividend to our shareholders, which is a share no warrant. It's actually very lucrative. Last time we did that, we gave out about $16 million worth of dividend as a spin-out. So, hopefully the shareholders hold on to their shares. I know a few of them like to sell it, but then we also give them a warrant. So a lot of these people rush out and sell it, and then they have what we call regret. But then I tell them, you still have the warrant, you still make money. So normally what happens is whatever we put out, it's usually a 10 to 30-fold increase in share price. And we've done that last time, and it was over a 36-month time frame. We basically did a 30-fold increase in share price. So this way, the shareholders have two assets now. One is precious metals, which I think will do very well in this market. And of course, battery metals, I don't think they'll go away. It's a long-term thing. As we create a very tight company, and our asset is in Quebec called Graal. We already did 17,000 meters of drilling, found about 6 kilometers strike length, crazy high grades in copper, cobalt, nickel, and still early stage.
Okay, so you have two companies then, one which is focused on precious metals, on silver, and another which is on the battery metals. That second one, Coniagas, that we're talking about today, it's located in Quebec, a couple hours north of Quebec City. And as you said, it's in a place called Graal, and it's located close to infrastructure that's part of the North American Battery Corridor, I understand. So I'm curious, I understand there's evidence pointing to a large deposit of high-grade nickel, copper, and cobalt on that property. Tell us about it.
Yeah, actually, like I said, we did about 17,000 meters of drilling. All we want to do is find the strike length. So far, we got about 6 kilometers of strike length. We found a deposit that actually, they originally call it Graal. It's kind of shaped like a martini glass. It's Graal is actually in English, and French is called Graal. And the deep, the area is known for the deeper you go, the better are the grades. So all we're doing is what we call near surface. We're still trying to figure out how long the structure is, and because of the location, infrastructure, it's in a good place. And Quebec is an easier province to work with. We've worked in Quebec in the past. It's easier to get permits, and they're much more pro-mining in Quebec than the rest of the provinces in Canada.
I gotta say, you just made me think of Indiana Jones and the Holy Grail. Talking about the Grail underneath the earth there.
Well, so I didn't think of that. Very good. Yes.
So I understand you're a hydrometallurgical engineer by training, and you've been at this for about 3 decades. So what attracted you specifically to this project, and why did you want to be the CEO to lead it?
Well, I think it's the potential is quite large. There's 2 battery plants being built in Quebec. 3 are being built in Ontario, and we want to be part of the supply chain to these battery plants. So, if we can keep everything in what we call a North American corridor, if you look at it globally, the people who are actually doing a very good job in controlling everything are the Chinese. If you ever look at one of our presentations, you'll notice about 6 of the metals that are critical to the EV market. It's all controlled by the Chinese, and it's processed in China. So basically, it's kind of the new oil. And here we are in Canada. We have the resources, we have the infrastructure, we have the skill set. Let's do it.
So if you take your company and you compare it to other junior mining companies, what would you say makes you stand out? What's your competitive advantage?
The thing is, we have a very simple process we developed over a very long time frame. It works. Last time we actually made product for Sumitomo in Japan. So it's not something that was just like in the lab, bench scale, which it was. It started like that. We did a couple of pilot plants, then we did plant scale testing, and all our work is done at Lakefield. SGS Lakefield. They're kind of a global group, so they produce product. It's on spec, and it's critical to produce product on spec to actually produce some quality batteries that will be able to power these electric vehicles. So, where we stand out, we're actually operational people. We've been in the field. We have a bit of a track record. We actually get things done, and we actually produce product that the market really needs. We don't make stuff up. We looked at recycling batteries, and we found there's no way you can make money recycling batteries or doing black mass. There's so many people out there in it, and a lot of these batteries actually have a very long life. To the point, I just saw a recent article that the batteries will outlast the cars. It could be. They're actually quite well built, and they're designed for the long term.
So I understand it takes quite a while to bring a mine online. And I understand that your strategy involves sourcing ore from overseas and processing it in Quebec in the meantime. Tell us about that. And is there a big market for it?
Well, the way it works in places like Canada or the States, and they basically say from drill hole to production is about 15 years. We've been offered a lot of concentrates from all over the world. The uniqueness of our process, we can take what we call oxide con. A lot of the smelters can't take it because it's lacking the sulfur, which is an energy. So we can take these concentrates that are very low and no sulfur, and we can produce an end product. So, in the interim, as we're waiting to, develop our mine, we also staked a lot of more ground in Quebec. It might end up being 2 mines. So the intent is, if we can, and we've been talking to Investment Quebec, we have a fairly good, wonderful relationship with them. It might be that we might build a plant in Quebec to receive material from all over the world and treat it here, and then supply the battery makers or users here in Quebec and in Ontario.
All right, fantastic. So you'll be mining and you'll also be processing. We have a lot of people who, they're investors who are watching this show. And so I want to talk about the investment side of the equation now. And it's no secret the environment for junior mining companies has been pretty rough of late. If we look at Coniagas shares, they've taken a hit since they went public in March. So I want to ask you, why is now the right time to invest in the company?
Well, what we did was we did no marketing. If you notice, we did nothing. So normally we've done this before, these spinouts, and there's usually a lot of shareholders who feel they want to sell, and they do. So we let them sell, and then what happens? The share price gets to a level whereby nobody wants to sell, and that's the time we turn it around and then run the story. So it's a typical move. We started, the market was at 25. Some people took it to 27. I told them, let it go. And people are, we're looking at the prices that it looks like it's stabilizing. And now we will put out and start marketing our story. It's a good story. Very few shares out there. I know it says we have about 32 million, but in reality, there's only less than 5 million shares out there. Because it's a spin out, a lot of the shares are escrowed. So very little paper out there. It's very tightly held. If somebody wants to come in today and buy, 100,000 shares, you'll notice there is no 100,000 shares out there, and it'll probably drive the thing probably to $1. So, people can come in and choose carefully without driving the market, and they should get a very good deal. It's a good story. It's a long-term story. You'll be looking for an 18, 36-month window. This is the kind of windows we work in. And like I said earlier on, normally we do a 10 to 30-fold increase in share price, which is not unrealistic for the size of our properties and the market that we're going into.
I got to say, those numbers caught my attention. 10 to 34-fold increase. That is quite a good return. And you've been doing this for some time, so really interesting to hear that. All right, so Frank, I just wanted to add, the U.S. and Canada are working to onshore the supply of critical metals, and demand for cobalt, nickel, and copper are set to rise as more people adopt electric vehicles and countries work to meet their carbon reduction targets. So definitely an exciting industry. You make an exciting case. We wish you good luck with the project. Pleasure to welcome you back.
Thank you very much, Michael, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. We've been speaking with Frank Basa, the CEO of Coniagas Battery Metals, and you've been watching Global One Media Stocks to Watch. I'm Michael Suarez.